Go.
Alright guys, so we bring the flywheel bolts, little thread lock, not too much per bolt, but I'd like to just place them. Thread lock doesn't dry right away, so don't worry about it drying. Just put a good dab on each one. You can spread it out a little air. I'll let gravity do the job. And just a quick reminder that there is a centering bolt. You can't just place this flywheel in any direction because this bolt is offset one of the holes. And when you install the flywheel, you got to make sure all the holes are accessible, or else it's not lined up properly. 3 more. We'll go for 1, 2. Oof. All right, 1 more after this one. Let's get the cap for the thread lock. And don't forget to thread lock also your pressure plate. Those are the only 2 things that thread lock usually. Like the bell housing, there's no need for thread lock, just follow the torque specs. Alright, so now I'll grab the flywheel for you guys. This is it, and as you can tell, one of the holes is offset. I can't tell right now, but little marks like these 2 little marks right here could be a good indicator. Alright, so now I'm gonna lay back on my back, fix the lighting. Alright, and you can see this dowel pin right here. You gotta make sure this dowel pin goes into the correct spot. So I'll go ahead and inspect the back. I see one hole is bigger. I'm gonna set that to the highest point. And now, as I go to mate it, the dowel pin and the flywheel should be parallel. You go to the hub centric, little circle, spin the flywheel, and the dowel pin should grab. As you can see, the dowel pin has not grabbed just yet. Alright, the starter is getting in the way. Let me go ahead and give it a quick push. Alright, the starter is out of the way. And this should be it. Dowel pin over here. Let's re-inspect. Alright, we'll go back up. The hole, bigger hole, is actually this hole. Alright, we're gonna go up again. Starter out of the way. And there we go. The flywheel is fully seated. Now, we're gonna go ahead and place 1 bolt in the dead center top. Catch a few threads. Same thing in the bottom. Same thing on the side. We're gonna keep going. I'm gonna give you guys a better angle for the camera now that I'm not carrying a heavy object. All right, just place all the bolts in there. Make sure to catch a thread per bolt. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 before using any of power tools. This is not going to be fun rethreading if you fuck up. Once you have all that in hand, you're confident all your bolts are threaded at least a thread or 2 in safely and are not going to cross thread, you grab your 19 and then you could use a ratchet or a big boy gun. I'll use the big boy gun. Before I do so, I know all my bolts already caught a thread indicating that I have my flywheel mounted, but I'll just give it a quick rock and then place my hand on it while it's seated, and that will confirm that it doesn't seat cockeyed. Don't forget to put this back. It's essential for keeping the perfect clearance between your transmission and engine. If you forgot, you could always slip it from the open end and rotate it. Just make sure you don't bind it or bend it against nothing, and it should come right around with no issues. There it goes. The starter is getting in the way a slight bit, but I'm just keeping my fingers by it and keeping the starter clear. I'll rotate it some more. Let me make sure the starter is clear of the sheet metal. There it is. And we are in business. push the starter through it, as you can see on the top hole over there, just like that. Then dowel pin it. One, there must be a second dowel pin I can use around here. Two dowel pins. You know, of course, you want to confirm fitment and lining up with the rest of the holes, but these 2 dowel pins should be the first step to lining this sheet metal up. Don't forget, you have this in the back, grabbing the sheet metal over to the bell housing on this 10mm bolt. Cut. All right, guys, so when you receive your clutch, don't take apart your pressure plate lock. This little lock locks your pressure plate. You want it to stay there. You only remove this big Allen key hole from the lock once the pressure plate and the clutch have been fully installed. First step to installing the clutch, you grab the guide pin and you want to grease it just slightly. That's not smart. You want to grease it just like that, ever so slightly, so it can slide into the pilot bearing without giving us any issues, just like I sounded the taper snout on the transmission. And same thing with the spleens right here going to the clutch disc itself. You want to put a little grease on there, not much. Right here, as you can see, I've already checked the direction on it. You want to slide the longer collar outside. So go ahead and put the dowel pin or the alignment tool through the clutch disc, raise the clutch disc, and place it in the pilot bearing, and that should help you center it. Now, yes, it is not going to be a perfect hold. You're still going to have to hold your finger. But as you can see, this bolt will be able to go dead center through the locking tool on the pressure plate. And some other brands, like Ford clutches, a Mustang clutch, the store that locks the pressure plate doesn't exist, and this plastic is a lot girthier. So just make sure don't remove this bolt just yet. All right. Let's go ahead and raise the pressure plate. As we raise the pressure plate, would you mind placing a finger here, my camera guy? Thank you, Taha. You're the best. Maybe a little higher, at like 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. Perfect. All right. I'll be able to grab the pressure plate and sneak the bolt through the middle. You are free to let go. At this point, what I'm doing is just preventing the clutch disc from falling. I'm not sure about lining up the pressure plate if I'm even close just yet, but it's fine. I need to get under it right here, identify my dowel pins, which I just did, and try to mate the dowel pins by rotating it. And this is close. Let's ensure the clutch is in all the way. All right. No, we'll give it one more rotation. And there it is. I got dowel pin, and a dowel pin. Now, as you can see with my left thumb, I'm ensuring the clutch is dead center. You get a little free play, but I like to let it rest and just push it forward. I don't push it up, I don't push it down, I just let it rest and push it forward. All right, then you kind of tap the pressure plate in, and you kind of now have very minimal free play for lining up the clutch. See, in this situation, you'll finally be able to remove this bolt, which will give you space to remove the locking tool in the pressure plate, which then will give you space to pull the alignment tool out. You won't be able to pull it until you release it. Yet, don't release this just yet. Let's get the pressure plate bolts on, and once we have them on, torqued and nice, and the clutch has been seated, we'll go ahead and release the pressure plate, and we'll go from there. So since the clutch disc has free play, you want to make sure you apply a little back pressure and have a bit of an Allen key that can push the clutch plate all the way against the flywheel before releasing the leaves, because it'll help keep it centered. It's not sitting in there at an angle. So first, I'll place my wrench on top, make sure it's on loosen. All right, and now I'm going to remove these locked legs, and it's going to release the pressure plate and hold the clutch against the flywheel. Apply some pressure on the bit to ensure that the clutch is against the flywheel, and then you release it against compression. Now, your flywheel and clutch. And the star is almost all the way out. There she is. A little light action, but we got it up here. Let me see that. Perfect. This is how it should look like. The Allen key bit will come out of it. But now, these leaves have released and pushed your clutch fully against your flywheel. You technically have released the clutch pedal. Then now, I have to grab the same screw that we took out of the alignment tool, screw it back in a few threads, and it should be easy to screw in now the clutch is not spinning. And once you put it in a few threads, just so you don't strip it, you can keep this and keep doing clutches with it in case you buy a clutch with that one. And you pull out the alignment tool. Looks just like your transmission input shaft. And now you double check your torque specs all around the pressure plate, and you ensure the starter is in good alignment, and you're ready to put your manual transmission on.